Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Loaded Mag NUFC. You will not see glum faces tonight. We are beyond that disappointment from last night. We are moving forward because we have to. It's arguably the biggest game of the season on Sunday, and we're going to get into it because it's the big one. The time we're Derby, Newcastle United against Sunderland. And boys, how are we feeling about the game on Sunday? More importantly, Daz, how you feeling, fella?
I'm good. Speaking of glum faces, hi Chris. But yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, I want to forget about that game last night. Credit to Barcelona. We never said that actually. With all well done, Barcelona, and getting through. But yeah, looking forward to chatting to Tom. I was telling you before, I've never seen a more confident fella going into this game. He's so confident. He's going to come on here now as well, and he's going to play it down. But don't believe him. All right, Tom. Chris, how are you?
All right, mate. Still busy day. Just dropped my daughter off at a play group, but yeah, I'm still a little bit down in the dumps, boys. I can't lie. I'm a bit down in the dumps. I've been getting a leveling off the boys today, but you know what? It is what it is. We have to move on very, very quickly. We're a few days away now from arguably one of the biggest games of the season now. And that's certainly how I hope the players and Eddie Howe treat it. I'm sure they will. But yeah, it's a must win on Sunday, isn't it? There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. An absolute must win. So yeah, I'm hopefully tomorrow, Saturday, I'll be in a little bit more higher spirits. But yeah, I'm still a bit bruised from last night. I can't lie. But Pete, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Finished now for a 3-day weekend. Happy days. I knew I'd get you back, Dad. I knew I'd get you back. 3-day weekend. We're very, very happy. Eid Mubarak to those celebrating today who celebrate from a Moroccan perspective. Eid Mubarak for tomorrow, those that celebrate from a Saudi perspective. So we've got lots of students at our place that will be celebrating. So happy days all round. And boys, I'm looking forward, not back, just because we can't afford to look back. We have to look forward. We've got 8 massive games now to end the season on a relative high. And we're going to get into the first one of those 8. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome back Sky Sports presenter and Sunderland fan. Let's get Tommy in. How you doing, fella?
Welcome, Tom.
I am very, 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 very confident that we won't get relegated. But that's it. Let's
start with that because obviously it was a topic of conversation the last time we spoke in the build-up to the first game back in December. And obviously, you were having a fantastic point in the season. It looked like you weren't going to get relegated there, but obviously it wasn't confirmed at this point. It is now. You are going to be playing Premier League football next season. Just how much would that mean to the Sunderland fans and yourself, Tommy?
Yeah, I think when a lot of people building up to this game have been saying, this is Sunderland's cup final. And I understand that. It's a derby. A derby's always a big game. But it's felt like every match has been a cup final until we got to 40 points. It's like, well, we've done that now. How can we weren't up for the game I went to the Brighton game at home and we weren't up for it. I just really hope we are up for this one because it's a derby and there's a problem if we're not up for it. But yeah, getting to 40 points and staying up, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it last time I spoke to you. And whatever happens between now and the end of the season, we've got to say we've done well because we're still in the Premier League next season.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you say that you weren't up for the last game, or you didn't seem like you were up for the last game. It was a defeat at home to Brighton, I believe. That is now 3 defeats in the last 5. Is there a question mark then? And I'm alluding to what you've just said before. Is there a fact of, it could be that you're on the beach now, you've achieved your target, players might sit back and take it easy for the last 8 games? Is that kind of how you're feeling it might well go between now and the end of the season?
I hope not. Like I said, I think there'll be a problem if we're not up for the derby. There's got to be people at the club saying, come on, you've got to be up for this one. And I'd like to think that we're going to push on to try and get as many points as we can. Imagine finishing in the top 10. Do you know the last Sunderland manager to finish in the top 10?
Gus Poyet.
DiCanio?
No. I'm going back as far as Peter Reid, but it could be someone more recent. Is it somebody we're not a fan of?
So Peter Reid did it twice by getting 7th place, but one person has done it once since then. The clue is, you will all know this man.
Yeah,
Steve Bruce.
Well. It was Steve
I
Bruce.
thought you were going to say it. Knew it.
Wow.
That's what I said. It's someone that we, as the Newcastle fans, are not a big fan of. That's why I said it, because I thought you were going to say.
2010, 2011, we beat West Ham on the final game of the season. You lost, and we ended up finishing 10th, and you went like 11th or 12th. So last game of the season, we finished 10th. So I'd like to think that the players are still motivated by that, try and get into the top 10. Very, very, very outside chance of Europe, but pretty much no chance, really. But, I'd like to think they're still motivated. But yeah, when you're saying about there being on the beach, I hope not. But on the evidence of Saturday, I think so. But surely not on Sunday, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. You would expect that they'd be up for this game. And boys, you would expect that Newcastle will be up for this one. Obviously, don't want to delve too much into last night, but last night is a bit of a humbler for Newcastle United and the players and the manager in the manner in which we defeated. There's a quick turnaround. What is it, 72 hours or something around that before kickoff time? Can Eddie Howe get these boys up and ready to go again? Is it a case of can, or is it a case of have to, Daz?
Both. We have to get up for this one at home as well. It's not going to take much getting them up for this one. I wonder we'll come to it when we come to the tactics board, but I wonder will he make some changes, little tweaks from the game, and if some heads dropped after last night. But no, if we're not up for this one, time to get on your bike. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, from your perspective, are there any concerns that it'll be a little bit like last time? Because we were talking about this in December. The boys will be up for it. There's no need for any extra motivation. We didn't get it though. We didn't get the performance that we were expected. Is that in the back of your mind going into this game that could be the case, that Newcastle might not be up for this in the way that we are as fans?
Yeah, it shouldn't be in my mind, but it is. Because obviously thinking of the game at the Stadium of Light, I thought we'd go bouncing into that game, and what we saw on the pitch was far from that. Given what happened last night, given the fact that obviously we did lose at the Stadium of Light, I would expect and hope that we go into this fully firing, trying to keep that Premier League run going. Because obviously we've had some decent results. Obviously beating Man United, beating Chelsea. We need to try and maintain that momentum. And let's not forget, boys, we're now officially in one competition. So full focus on the Premier League. So there's no excuse. 8 games left. There's absolutely no excuse. So you're right in what you say, Pete. We should be going into this, but I do have that element of doubt given this season and what happens in the reverse fixture at the Stadium of Light.
Absolutely, Tom. I just want to get your thoughts on your opposition, Newcastle United, for this one on Sunday. Obviously, we've had a very much an inconsistent season, very very up and down for us. Never really known what type of performance we're going to get. In the build up to this, we had a couple of wins. We're coming into this game on the back of 2 wins in a row in the Premier League. Home to Man United, away at Chelsea. Just what have you made since you last played us at the Stadium of Light? What have you made of Newcastle United's season, just as a whole? Should we be as negative as certain sections of the fan base are with regards to this season?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, I don't think you should be that negative. What has surprised me is your inconsistency. Even when we beat you in December, I said that I still think Newcastle will finish top 5, and 5th is likely to be Champions League. And there was just some strange results which you wouldn't expect Newcastle to get. And it's just, is it down to Europe? Is it down to too many games like League Cup? Given they got to the semi-finals, he didn't get your day out at Wembley. Would you have preferred to have gone out in the 3rd round? At the first hurdle. Same in the FA Cup. But that's all in hindsight. I have been surprised with Newcastle, but at the same time, when they turn it on, they can look unstoppable. And some of your games in the Champions League, you have looked unstoppable. And you were quite unlucky in certain. Well, you were very unlucky actually in the Barcelona game. And what was the game in the group where I can't believe you didn't win? It wasn't Barcelona. Who did you play and you were brilliant? Was it? Was it PSG?
We played PSG away. It was, I think it was 1-1 in the end. Joe Willock scored, and we had chances to win it late on with Harvey Barnes.
That's it. That's the one I'm thinking of. And you look brilliant. And sometimes when you attack, it's like watching Liverpool under Klopp the season they ran away with the league.
Yeah.
But then 10 minutes later, suddenly you look all over the place. So I don't really get it. I don't get it. But I don't think you should be upset by your season at all, especially if you do qualify for for Europe, which I still think you will. I think you'll finish 8th, which might be enough. And then that's still Newcastle in Europe. Semi-finals of the Carabao Cup is still good. Not that bad in the FA Cup. I know it's a bit disappointing in the end. And you got the last 16 in the Champions League. It's not a bad season for Newcastle. It's not a bad season. I tell you what, the only thing that could make it a disappointing season is if we do the double over you, that will be hard for you to take. Okay, but to be clear, I do not think that's happening.
Talk to us then. Come on, then. Because you said this to me yesterday. You said it to Daz before we went live. You've had this mindset that you're not going to win this game, or you're confident that Newcastle are probably going to win this. Like, what is this stem from? Is there something happening behind the scenes? Is it injuries? Is it just general performances? What is it that's making you feel this pessimistic about the game?
2 main things. The first one is at the Stadium of Light. I was actually shocked by how poor Newcastle were, and that was not. I don't know what happened there. I don't know whether your players weren't up for it. I don't know if there was like a tactical switch that just didn't work, which is quite rare for Eddie Howe because normally he gets it right. I don't know if it was just that we were mega up for it. I was quite surprised. That is not happening again. Newcastle and Eddie Howe, the players, you've got some experienced players there. You will not let that happen again. You will be better. Add to the fact you're at home. Add to the fact that you're now above us in the league. So straight away, that's one thing. You will be better than last time. You will have learned from those mistakes back in December. The second one is, and I never accept, teams who are up at the top, I never accept injuries as an excuse because they've got massive squads of quality players. I do accept injuries as an excuse to clubs who are newly promoted, which is us. And right now, I know that normally at the end, you ask me to kind of name the team. It's going to be really difficult because we have got question marks over 5 or 6 key players, and our manager hasn't ever put a date on when they're coming back. So let's say even 3 of those 5 or 6 players are out. We do not have the squad. How can you? It takes a while to build a Premier League squad. You can't do it in 2 transfer windows. So that's my 2 reasons for having no confidence about this. Actually, I will throw in a third one. We don't score goals. We don't score goals, especially away from home. We defend, and try to nick it. That's going to suit Newcastle because it's just going to be wave after wave of attack, and your pace is going to be key. I don't like it when Anthony Gordon plays up front. You've got 2 strikers. You've got 3 strikers actually with that Asula, but against us that will work with Gordon up front.
Just out of interest, just for those that might not be aware from a Sunderland perspective, who are do you know the players that you're kind of waiting on to see if they're going to be available? Who are the 5 potentials?
Yeah, so straight away, it's 5 or 6. So let's go through them. Our goalkeeper, Roofs, is almost certainly out. Okay, now there you go, because that's inside info. All right, I was told last Saturday at the game that he's out, whereas we thought that he was supposed to be back for this game. However, looks like he's out. And that's Roofs. And our other goalkeeper, it's actually done quite well, touch wood, but he's very, very young and inexperienced. Not very... He's one of those where when he's trying to play out from the back, Gordon could nick it. Gordon could nick the ball off him, right? So there's one. That's Roofs. One of our best players this season, maybe the best player, Nori Mukiele.
Yeah, good player.
Yeah, he's been out for a few weeks and is touch and go for this one. But even if he plays, he's rusty.
Yeah.
Exactly the same for Reynildo. Reynildo's training, the left back, experienced player, Atletico Madrid. He's played against Real Madrid and done brilliantly in the past. Did well in the last derby. He's the same as Mukiele. So there's 3. And Ballard went off injured against Brighton. There's 4 of the back 4 and goalkeeper. So 4 out of 5 could be missing, right, at the back.
Wow.
In midfield, Roker, Enzo Lefebvre missed the Brighton game and wasn't on the bench, and no reason's been given yet. Enzo Lefebvre plays every minute when fit. So they're the ones who are the question marks. And then you've got a guy called Nilson Angulo, who we spent a bit of money on in January, and he's out for between 4 to 6 weeks. Wow. The other question marks, Wilson Isidore, but he would have been an impact sub anyway and hasn't scored since October, despite being a striker. But those other ones are key. They are players who, when fit, they play.
Absolutely. And Sophie's just asked his Xhaka fit.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. So Xhaka is available. Xhaka will play. Xhaka has been injured. He's come back into the team and has looked like he's carrying an injury. So is he fit? Will he play? Yes. Is he fit? That's a different question. He looks like, when sometimes players get through a season and say, oh, they need like some surgery or a procedure and they'll wait till the summer. Now, I haven't heard this about Xhaka, but it seems like that's the way he's playing. He's not tearing around the pitch like he was. And he just looks like he's not quite right. So playing, yes. Fit, not so sure.
Yeah, we've had that with a few players in the past with Newcastle. I remember in the season we got Champions League. Remember Bruno Guimaraes with his ankle? He was like wrapped up constantly and having to go to the mill, and he never looked like he was 100% fit in the back end of that season. And so we feel that pain because we've been there. But boys, I want to get your reaction to that, because obviously I wasn't aware of that many players. I knew there were 1 or 2 that was question marks for the game, but just your opinion, boys, Daz, Chris, on those crucial players that could potentially be missing, especially the goalkeeper, Daz.
Sorry, Tom, but delighted is the first word I'm going to come into it. Robin Roofs, who we've all waxed lyrical about, and we said if we could even pick him up in the summer, that would be great, but that's not happening. Yes, that is a big loss. Dan Ballard, you mentioned an excellent defender. I know you mentioned the other 2 boys in defence as well. And I'm kind of looking at SofaScore and the details of the injuries. And I saw Lefebvre out, and I said, because he's always he caused us trouble the last day as well. And he's a good little player for you. Someone we actually talked about a long time ago before he ever came to Sunderland on our fully loaded transfer shows. But so that is starting to build the confidence, Tom. But this could be a ploy as well. Don't fall for it at home, guys. They'll all tag out and be on the pitch then on Sunday.
It's difficult with that because Regis Fabrice's news conference is tomorrow. And I think normally you think, we'll find out from the manager if someone's fit. He doesn't really give. It's normally that, like, I've obviously been in news conferences several times back when I was a reporter. The first question is about the injury news, and you get the news. Nowadays, some managers, including Regis Fabrice, don't really give a clear answer. They kind of you end up leaving the news conference or listening to the news conference with Regis Lebris going, so is he? Did he say he was fit? Is he fit? You still don't know. So we're probably not going to find anything out until an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff.
It must be a northeast thing, Tom, because we have exactly the same with our manager anyhow.
Yeah.
And he is very much exactly the same. You come out of those, or you listen to those press conferences, come out of the video thinking, is he fit or not? Like, there's been times, boys, hasn't there, where we've listened to a press conference and we've gone, right, that's him out for the next 3 weeks, and then he's in the squad. Like 2 days later, it's like, what's going on here? Yeah. But Chris, just your reaction to some of those players, some big players, Mukiele is one, obviously, Roofs is another. Again, we've got to take anything we can get, right? At this time.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I was hoping Granit Xhaka was going to be on that list. I think I'm a bit disappointed he's going to be playing because I really rate him. But no, Tom raises a good point. 4 out of your back line, if you include Robin Roofs. Mukiele has been fantastic for Sunderland this season. I agree, probably player of the season. Also appeared in my fantasy footy team this year. Much to the displeasure of a few Newcastle fans who I know who've said, I shouldn't be putting Sunderland players in my team. But I also had Reynaldo in there as well. Two good fullbacks, Mukiele and Reynaldo, and of course Dan Ballard. He almost reminds me of like the John Terry of Sunderland. He's that big bruiser of a centre back, puts his body on the line for Sunderland. So if he's out as well, that is promising. And Angelo, he was a new signing, wasn't he, Tom? But he looked on occasion he's looked quite threatening. A player with a lot of flair.
Yeah, he looked quite dangerous, and these days wingers tend to only be able to play on one side, which is baffling. He actually can play on both, but he's definitely out. I'm not sure if we'll see him again. Well, we might. I suppose we've got a 3-week break after this. Well, we both have. And so we might see him again this season. But yeah, he's out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, so another big loss. I mean, yeah, it is encouraging, but we've been here before, boys, haven't we? Where you go into a game and you're like, oh, great, he's out, and then players come in, and of course, what we have to factor in, it's a derby. So even if a player comes in, arguably they're getting an opportunity in what could be one of the biggest games that they ever play in, particularly if it's a fringe player, because they could end up getting moved on, and they know all eyes will be on St James's Park at 12 o'clock on Sunday. So it's a huge game and a huge opportunity for any players stepping in. So yeah, as pleasing as it is, I do also think derby days, they're different, aren't they? They're absolutely different. So yeah, I won't be counting my chickens, put it that way.
Absolutely. We'll hold on the initial discussions with regards to the derby right now, just because I know there's a few questions that have come in the chat for Tom. So I don't know if we want to throw a few questions out, and I know there's been a super chat as well, so we can maybe go to those. So I think there's a few decent questions there for Tom to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go to the super chat first, as we always do. And thank you, Benny Boy, for the super chat. Much appreciated.
Cheers, Benny Boy.
Benny Boy says, let's hope they are not mentally and physically shattered from an away Champions League game going into the derby, like we were in the last one when we turned up at the Stadium of Light, underprepared, undercooked, and looked like deers in headlights. Yeah, absolutely, Benny Boy. Yeah, hopefully there is no hangover for Sunday, because we need to be at our very, very best, both mentally and physically. Whether or not that's going to be a possibility, who knows? Obviously, having travelled to Camp Nou yesterday, but hopefully Eddie has the lads ready mentally and physically for Sunday. Fingers crossed. But no, thank you so much for that, Benny Boy. Let's have a look. What have we got for Tom? It's an interesting one from Elsevier. Elsevier says, Tom, who do you think is going to be more up for the game, Newcastle or Sunderland?
Newcastle, because of what happened last time. And Sunderland were definitely more up for it in December at the Stadium of Light, and we won. Newcastle that will hurt, that will have really hurt. I mean, I know it's hurt. I know it will have hurt your fans. All right. So you're going to be extra loud, but you would be anyway. It'll have hurt the players. People like Dan Burn. Well, he went off injured. So yeah, I suppose he was like literally hurt, but he will have been like upset about that. Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall, it would have upset them as well. It will have hurt them. And they will have said after that game, I guarantee in that dressing room, they will have said, let's remember this, because in March we turn this around. So I think Newcastle will be more up for it.
Yeah.
I would agree. Especially with the Dan Burn point as well. I agree with that, especially with the Dan Burn point. He'll feel like he's got a point to prove because he obviously came off quite early, as you mentioned, Tom. So he'll be even more up for that. But when we get to the tactics board later, there may be a question about Dan Burn. I'm just putting it out there. Well, let's wait and see.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, it's a good point, Pete. Good point. I had to put this one up. I already flashed it up, but I wanted to highlight it. DXLE says, I seen Sunderland to get top 10 before the season was like 250 to 1, and somebody put £100 on it. So somebody's going to be 25 grand richer if Sunderland do manage to finish in that top 10.
Yeah.
Great bet.
Well, yeah. Sadly, they're going to be £100 poorer. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
You, Tom.
Love it.
Jeannie Esther asks you, Tom, and you've already kind of alluded to it, but we'll ask it anyway. Jeannie Esther has said, who's the candidates for Sunderland's player of the season so far, in your opinion?
Candidates are Roofs, Ballard, Xhaka, Mukiele. Some might throw in Lefay. I'll throw in Lefay. I think that Xhaka will win it.
Okay.
And it's hard to argue, but Mukiele for me has been just as important. Then probably Dan Ballard in third place. But Xhaka and Mukiele stand out. Xhaka gets more attention because he's Xhaka, but he deserves it. Yeah, Xhaka or Mukiele.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And talking of betting, Tom, DXLE has come back with another one, and he says, who gets booked first, Joe Linton or Xhaka?
I tell you what, I really hope there's not a sending off. I genuinely hope there's not a sending off for either side. I always used to say in this question, I would always say Bruno Guimaraes, even though he's not one of the options. Yeah. I will say Joe Linton will get booked first, but Sunderland-wise, it's more likely to be Hume than Xhaka.
Joe Linton's a good shout, to be fair.
He's always good for a card, yeah.
Yeah,
always.
He got his customary one at Camp Nou, didn't he?
Yeah.
You see it coming. It's funny with Joe Linton. You see it coming. He'll do a few tackles or a few shoves, or he'll start getting in the referee's ear, and you just think, yeah, it's coming. It's gonna happen any minute. And then it comes, and you go, there you go, there it is. Right, a couple more for you, Tom. I'll save that one to last. Tom Dixon asks you, Tom, who do you think Sunderland will bring in the summer, and who do you think will leave? Any early candidates?
I think we'll sign a new front three. We struggle to create chances, but that's fine because the tactics were defend. A good defence keeps you up. So it's the right tactics. But if we can keep our good defence, but have more dangerous players, the two wingers and the striker, that will help, regardless, even if the tactics are the same. Okay, because there's going to be more of a danger up top. So I expect a new front three. In terms of people leaving, we bought Simon Adingra last summer for £20 million, £22 million or something. He's already out on loan in Monaco and flying. So I expect Monaco will make that loan permanent. And we've got loads of fringe players that will go. But in terms of the actual first team, I think we've got players who are worth significantly more than we paid for them. But normally, the big clubs wait for a player to do it for 2 seasons, not 1. Yeah. So I don't think we'll lose any key players this summer. As long as we stay up next summer, I think we might make serious money for the likes of Siddiqui, Roofs, Maybe even Mukiele and Ballard. Maybe even Lefay. But I think this summer we should be okay.
There was talk though that that there was interest in Roofs this summer, and because of your other bulky being obviously coming through the ranks, is it Elborg?
Elborg, yeah. Melkor Elborg.
Yeah, because he was coming through the ranks, it was almost like, there's a chance he could move, and that he would be obviously transferred into the first team. You're not seeing it that way?
No, I still think you'll have to do it for 2 seasons before someone. I mean, Chelsea need a goalkeeper, don't they? So
that's what I'd heard, actually. Chelsea were interested.
Yeah, and that would make sense. But whether they do it after 1 season or not, I don't know. I think they'd normally wait for someone to prove it over 2 seasons. But if somebody is going to go for big money, Roofs and Siddiqui are the 2 that really stand out.
Yeah. And Tom, the biggest question for you from Genius Divine Aldum, and he says, any forfeits for you or Pete Graves after Sunday?
Well, right. Well, this is the thing. I was going to say no, but accidentally there is. So I did this last time. I don't know if you remember, but I booked off. So I work Monday to Friday on my show, right? Sky Sports FC, Sky Sports Fan Club. Before the derby last time, I booked off the days leading up to the derby because I didn't want to be. Did I just call it the diary? Days leading up to the derby.
You knew what you meant.
I booked off because I didn't want to be part of the build-up, and obviously the Monday I booked off because I didn't want to be part of the aftermath. On Sky Sports News, the weekend's gone once it gets to Tuesday. All right, so I'm not in tomorrow because of that. Friday. I've also booked Monday off, same reason, and it turns out they've put Pete in my place on Monday morning. I suppose there accidentally is a forfeit for Pete because he's going to be on Monday morning. But by the way, if you win, and I think you will, that's going to be amazing for him. Amazing.
He'll be happy. Yeah.
If it's a draw or we nick it, it'll be horrible for him. So I suppose there could be a forfeit, but it would be a positive for him. If you win, it'll be 2 great hours for him.
Yeah. It's funny the way that's worked out.
You stuck him on that one. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It could be a dream or a nightmare for Pete Graves. You've heard it first.
You can get Darmish to stand in for him. Just do that. Do his accent. He's very good at the accent, actually.
Oh, I love. Yeah, he's great at the. Darmish and Michael Bridge are very good at accents. I must try to. I wonder if Michael Bridge ever put it on social media, but I might even send it to you if I can. He's does an incredible impression of Alan Pardew, and somebody filmed him doing his impression of Alan Pardew to Alan Pardew, and it was absolutely brilliant. Alan Pardew just did this kind of like laughed and did this kind of fake punch, but it was honestly, if you close your eyes, you wouldn't know which one was talking.
No way.
Oh, he didn't try to headbutt him. That's the main thing.
He did. Yeah, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. Thankfully.
Oh, I've just spotted one more question for you there, Tom. I'll squeeze in with this one before we move on, because it's a good question from DXLE. How good's Chris Rigg? It's all fun and games in the Championship, but what's he been like in the Premier League?
Well, he's a number 10, and we play him on the right wing, but we don't really give him that many minutes. So it's actually quite hard to tell. And I think he's definitely found the Premier League hard, but, fair enough. I think he's still only 18, maybe 19. And even in the Championship last season, he had a great start to the season and tailed off a little bit. So it was always going to be hard to then do it in the Premier League. But in fairness, I think he got man of the match against Brighton on Saturday, playing right wing. That's the best he's played in the Premier League so far. But he is a number 10 who's been playing right wing. So it's hard to judge, but he's still very, very highly rated, and he's worth a fortune because he's young and English.
Yeah. He scored, didn't he, against Brighton? You would have gone 1-0 up, but it got ruled out for offside.
Yeah, I was right in line with it. You when you're at the ground, you couldn't tell, but in the replay, it's quite clear that in the build-up, Alderete was offside. I actually, funny enough, just bumped into Chris Rigg in the stadium after the game and was talking to him about it, and he was like, I was thinking, I know I'm not offside. Where's that come from? And he had to see the replay and say, oh, right, okay. Because no one in the ground had any idea that it was. And it was a finish with his right foot as well. He doesn't usually use his right foot. But yeah, he's still a great prospect, but he needs to make that step into a first-team regular.
Yeah. He's got time. He's got time to make that.
That step. Yeah, he does.
Is that all the questions for now?
That's it. Yep, they're the questions for now.
Spot on. All right. Well, because I know we've not got you for too much longer, Tom. So I will get us straight to the tactics board, and we'll try and figure out what team both Newcastle and Sunderland are going to put out, because I think it's up in the air for both fan bases at this moment in time. But just put out the team, Tom, that you think it may well be on Sunday. So hopefully you can see the tactics board on your screen.
Yes.
Got the squad in at the bottom there. So I'm assuming that you're going to go without Robin Roofs in goal.
Yes, Elborg. I have on good authority it will be Elborg due to Roof's injury.
Okay.
But straight away, this gets difficult because we don't know who's fit. So do you want me to do this best case or worst case?
You do it however you want. You do it with what you think the team may well be.
You're the manager, Tom.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. I mean, if fit, Mukiele's right back.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll do best case scenario and explain what would happen if it's not. Left back would be Reynildo, so Armand number 17.
Yeah. Left back.
We had this confusion last time, didn't we? That he was down for that.
We did, and I double checked it before we started just to make sure.
Right-sided centre back Ballard.
Yeah, he'd be a huge miss for you because he's been a rock at the back for you, and a big reason why you've had such defensive stability this season. You've been hard to break down.
He's and this time last season he wasn't in our first team. Alderete left centre back. Now Alderete will of those. I mean, Alderete is a definite because he's hasn't got any fitness problems to my knowledge. The base of the midfield, Shaka.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The two in front of him will be Siddiqui and Diarra.
How much? What are you thinking about Diarra? Because obviously he was injured for a large part of that first chunk of the season, and obviously he's been playing more recently. What have you made of him since he's sort of come back from his injury and been in the team?
He is getting a lot of stick at the moment. He's not played very well again. Didn't play very well against Brighton. Didn't play very well against Port Vale, the bottom of League One, and. So the first game of the season against West Ham, I thought we'd sign Yaya Toure. He looked brilliant. Then he got injured. Then he went to AFCON and he's come back, played well against Burnley, and he did okay. But the last few games he's been poor. So he's getting a bit of stick at the moment. Right. But if I'm saying it looked like we'd signed Toure against West Ham, it shows that he is a good player.
Yeah.
It's just, I hope it's just a few bad games because he's our record signing. But he'll still play.
That's why I was going to ask you, Tom, because he came in for such a significant amount of money. There was a lot of fanfare and expectation around him, so that's why I've not seen too much of him. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, and he's the more advanced of the three midfielders, so he pushes up next to the striker. Left wing, if fit, will be Lefay. Lefay prefers to play in the middle, but he's very dangerous on the left. Right wing is going to surprise you, and it's going to take some explaining because opposition fans can't understand this. The right of the front three will actually, if all of these players are fit, will be Trey Hume.
Okay.
It's weird. you will. Let's say this is right. If you see this formation, you're going to think it's 5 at the back.
Right.
But actually, Hume goes up high.
Yeah.
Tracked back, obviously, because he's a right back.
Mm.
And he also drifts into midfield.
Oh, wow.
And Mukiele pushes on. It's very strange.
Mm.
And up front will be Robbie.
Yeah. Is it a bit, Tom, like what, apart from maybe drifting in field, but it's a bit like what Liverpool do with Frimpong? They play Frimpong on that right-hand side.
Yeah, I suppose so. But Hume does drift inside. It's almost like he's got a free role, which is weird because there's a lot of quality there. And Trey Hume's a very good player, but you wouldn't give him a free role. You'd give Lafay a free role, wouldn't you? Maybe even Diarra. I'll just very quickly, just in case, Roos would be in goal if fit. If Mukiele's out, Hume will go to right back. If Ballard's out, Gertruida will be in centre back. If Reynildo's out, either Sirkin will go in there or Hume will go left back and O'Nien will go right back. The midfield three is nailed on. If Hume has to go into defence, then it will probably be Rigg on the right. If Lafay is out, it will be Talby who's on the left. But it will still be Brobby up front. But if something's happened to Brobby in training, it will be Mayenda that plays up front.
Out of interest, Tom, Gertruida was linked, wasn't he, at the end of January with a loan move to Liverpool, but it didn't pan out that way. How's he been since that failed move? Because I imagine he was probably pretty disappointed that it didn't go for him.
Yeah, apparently he understood, because what had happened was Liverpool did come in for him because he can play right back, centre back, and central midfield. So the fact he can play right back and centre back was really important for Liverpool because they need both. And he definitely would have wanted to move, especially given that he's only on loan from us with an option to buy. But they came in so late. Sunderland said to Gertruida, well, we're okay with this, but we have to replace you because you're important for us. And apparently he understood that. Sunderland couldn't get in a replacement. We couldn't get in a replacement and said, listen, we can't do it. And he was apparently very professional about it. And if Liverpool still want him in the summer, we won't take the option to buy and will allow Liverpool to get him.
Right, okay.
But he's not a regular, but he plays right back, centre back, and central midfield. So he's been a really good loan signing for us without being one of those loan signings that play every single minute like we had with like Johnny Evans or Amad Diallo, Danny Welbeck, etc. But he's been very useful for us, and this is best case scenario. It's very unlikely to be this because of the injuries. Gertruida will be in there somewhere. So I expect Gertruida to play, but this is in the case that everybody's fit.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fair, because that had been a big surprise, is that he'd been linked with a lot of big clubs. I know he was linked with us a couple of years ago. I know he was heavily linked with Villa in the summer before he moved to Sunderland as well. So he's been linked with some top clubs. So for him to come in and then not play at all, for it to be fair, it just shows how strong your defence has been, that you've not actually needed him to play week in, week out. So that's the Sunderland team. That's up and running there. And I think we've hit bang on the time that we've got with you, Tom. And I know I don't want you to overstay your welcome, because I know you're a very, very busy man.
I want to see your Newcastle team first, and then I'll go.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Should we, lads?
We'll make an exception.
I'm gonna ring Reggie Lebris and tell him what you've got down.
Why? I wasn't sure, lads.
What are you going to do? Mark Gillespie in goal, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
May as well.
Best job in football. But lads, Chris, I'll let you run through the Newcastle United team and what you think it will be, and then we'll let Daz rub that all out and start all over again.
Already, Chris.
So go for it. What's it going to be Sunday?
Do you know what? I thought this was going to be quite difficult, but the more I thought about it, it's actually quite clear to me what I think the 11 should be, and I'm obviously basing it on a strong rumour that a certain someone is going to miss out. So I'll put my 11 out and see what Daz thinks. So in goal, I firmly believe it will be Adam Ramsdale.
Yeah.
I think
There was a few calls about whether he should be out because obviously he can concede in 7. I think that's quite harsh.
I do.
I don't really. We said it last night. I don't really blame him for any really one of the goals. Maybe he could have done better with a penalty, but harsh to maybe drop him after that.
He could have done better with the penalty, and I think he could have done better with the header. But Tino's lost his man, hasn't he? So it was a relatively easy header. I just think it was really weird the way he came out and done a star jump in the direction where the ball wasn't. That was a little bit odd to me. But other than that, Pete, no, you're right. I don't really blame him for any of the goals, particularly the latter goals, because he had no chance because they were literally 3-1 goal, and that was it. So I think we stick with Van Ramsdale. 8 games to go. Stick with him, and then let's just get to the summer. That's what I think on it. I just don't see the benefit in putting Nick Pope back in. Really don't. Left back, of course, the best left back in the league, Tom.
Alex
Lewis
Murphy.
Hall.
What?
Yeah.
Not impressed, Chris.
Left centre back, I think will be Dan Burn.
Okay.
And this one might shock you boys, but right centre back, I'm going with Sven Botman. I think Malik Chow needs to come out. There was a few worrying signs yesterday for me, and I think Sven Botman's physicality up against Robbie, I think it just makes sense. So that 2 big lads, 2 strapping lads at centre back, they would be the 2 that I would pick. And then at right back, I think he will go with Tino Livramento.
Okay. Back 4 intact. Midfield.
Yeah. Midfield, I think in the holding position will be Jacob Ramsey. Because I do not think Sandro is going to make it.
There has been a bit of an update on Sandro today. They had an MRI, and there was some positive news with regards to that injury. There was nothing to report with regards to any serious damage, and he has a chance of playing on Sunday. So,
okay.
But and to add to that, which I think is quite telling, he hasn't withdrawn from being selected for the Italian team. So I think that's also interesting there, because you would tend to think that they would be in sync with regards to being locked out. And the fact that this information from the MRI didn't necessarily come from Newcastle initially. Craig Hope wrote the piece later this evening, but the initial information on Sandro came from Sky Italia. So it came from the Italian side of things. So they must have got no from Newcastle United. So I think that was quite telling in that. But let's wait and see on that one. But Ramsey at this moment in time on the 6.
Yeah, I'll stick with Ramsey for now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they'll just rest him and let him go off to Italy. Who knows? But yeah, I'll stick with Ramsey for now. Left centre mid will be Joe Linton.
Big Joe.
Yeah. Right centre mid will be Joe Willock.
Joe Willock. There we go.
Yeah. And then the front 3 I would leave unchanged from Barcelona. So I would go with Harvey Barnes on the left.
Yeah, played very well in camp. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anthony Elanga through the middle. Anthony Elanga on the right, sorry. And Anthony Gordon through the middle. Yeah. That would be the team I'd play.
Okay. Daz, are you in agreement with that?
Oh, I thought he was going with that.
That's what we do, Tom. Sorry to alarm you. Right. Yeah. So immediately, my ears picked up when Pete mentioned about the news on Tonali. So I would put Willock back on the bench, bring in Tonali, and swap him with Ramsey. Mm-hmm. If that's possible. I think you probably would as well, Chris, if Sandro
absolutely.
is fit.
Yeah.
And because we're at home, because it's a derby, and Jacob Murphy is a Newcastle fan, and not to be sentimental or anything, but he also ups his game at home. So if he can't get up for this one in the derby, so that's why I'm going to start Jacob Murphy. Even though Elanga scored 2 against Barca, and Elanga has been working well with Tino or with Trips. So with Tino starting, I'm going to go with Murphy.
It definitely makes sense. And I get the whole Jacob Murphy at home thing. I just think Anthony Elanga, off the back of 2 goals, I feel like it would send the wrong message to him. But I do get your point. I totally get your point, Daz. And I wouldn't be upset with that team. I think it's a good solid team. But what do you think, Pete?
Before I say what I think about the team, Tom, what do you think? Because I know you've got to go. That's the team that's been put out. Obviously, there's been 1 or 2 changes from Chris to Daz's perspective of that lineup. But what are you thinking? Where are the threats for you, and what are you most worried about if that is the lineup come Sunday?
I can't believe Chow isn't in there. I think he's brilliant, but you've been watching a lot closer than I have. And if you need to rest, you need to rest. But I think Chow is brilliant. I could also see, because you're at home. I mean, if Tonali's fit, Tonali plays. I mean, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised to see Voltemada in for one of your midfielders as a number 10, kind of getting right up there with Gordon, because of what happened in the derby last time, and it's just an extra attacking option at home in a derby. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that, but he might say, right, let's bring him on later, maybe. But if I saw that team, it's both teams that you did, good teams, definitely good threats all over the pitch. I'd be very surprised if Chow isn't in there.
No, I think that's fair. I'll be honest with you. I agree. I don't see a lineup now between now and the end of the season where Malik Chow's not in it. Regardless, he's made mistakes before this season and been right back in the starting lineup, and I don't see it any different. I would personally go with Botman left centre back, but I think he'll go with Dan Burn just because of the game and what it means. I think Sven Botman needs to get some games under his belt, and I think probably after this game we may well see Sven Botman start the remainder of the games, being one game a week. But that they would be really the only changes that I would make. But we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a second. But Tom, look, I know you've stayed a little bit longer. We absolutely massively appreciate the fact that you've taken the time. We love to have this chat with you, and hopefully, because you're staying up in the Premier League, we're going to have potentially more chats going into next season as well. Fingers crossed. But just before you go, your prediction.
I think you will be 3 up after 20 minutes, but win it 4-0. I think you'll score 3 in the first 20 minutes, but only get 1 in the second half.
You're having us on. You're having us on. Tom's duping us in.
You know that game against Tottenham when you were like 5 up in half an hour or something?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be similar to that, but our defense is better than Tottenham's defense was that day. So I'll go 4, but I think you are going to go for us. And I think once you get 1, it's just going to be woof.
Clip this up, Pete Graves. If Tom is right, he can play it on Monday morning.
Absolutely, but I think the three of us speak for every Newcastle fan when we say, "Yeah, we'll shake your hand on that," and we'll call it a day. But Tom, we'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tom.
Are you at the game? Are you at the game Sunday?
No, I turned down my ticket. Turned down the ticket. Yeah, it's. I must admit, I am regretting it. I wish I was I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be there. My heart can't take it. And now I'm wishing I'd gone. It was a stupid decision. But as I've always said to you, I've always sat in the Newcastle end at St. James's.
Yeah.
Whereas this time I would have been in the Sunderland end.
Oh.
So I shouldn't have turned it down.
Well, you can definitely watch it on TV, and maybe it would be a good decision if your prediction comes true.
Yeah.
My phone will be off until Tuesday.
And I wouldn't be surprised at all. But Top man, thank you so much for coming and joining us. Best of luck for the season.
Thank you, Tom.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Top man. Great to have Tom on. Superb guest as ever. I don't know what to think about that, boys. 3-0 up after 20 minutes, 4-0.
Oh.
We'd be in dreamland with that sort of result, lads. That'd just be unreal.
Remember what happened last time?
I know.
Tom came on and said not the scoreline, but he said he played it down as well. So don't. I don't know.
Can't take the bait. We can't take the bait, lads.
Not again.
Not again. We did it last time. We've done it with LB. We've done it with Billy and Rich before, with Villa and all the rest of it. We keep getting duped into these false sense of security, and we're not going to do it anymore. But I'll just go through just my opinions. I agree with you, boys. I think Ramsdale will stay in unless he has an absolute major blunder. I see him playing the last 8 games of the season at Ramsdale. The fullbacks, if they're fit, they start. It's as simple as that. With Lewis Hall and Livramento for me. It's this bit here. I need to see Botman and Chow start, but I just can't see
Dan Burn start. Definitely.
I just can't see him not starting because of what happened, because of his injury in the last one. I just can't see him not starting. But equally, I can't see a lineup in this game without Malik Chow in this team. I know he made mistakes. I know he was bad, and we were all really frustrated with how bad his performance was. But Robbie's a problem. He's a problem, and he's got a bit of pace in him behind, and you want someone that can match that. And you're hoping that Malik Chow can get rid of the cobwebs of what happened at Camp Nou and put it right in the derby. Because that would, I think, if he starts and he plays well and we win the game, that will give him the catalyst to have a really good end of the season. Because let's not forget, he was absolutely superb away at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And I know he's made mistakes this season, but this season hasn't been great for Newcastle, and he's been chopped and changed with Shaw, Byrne, Botman, constant change. Trippier one time, Livramento the other, Hall one time, Byrne at left back. He's been the constant all the way through, and it's going to happen at some point. But I just believe that Malik Chow will start.
Just on Malik Chow, Pete, what you're at, I noticed a few comments coming into our on the react on the watch along last night. From Milan fans and saying, AC Milan fans saying, this is what we told you guys. This is what they kind of warned us about. There are times where he does have a mistake in them, kind of thing. So fair enough. But and you're right. Like, he's been excellent all season. At one point, he was definitely my player of the season. I don't know. I've kind of gone for our left back now. I think for our player of the season. No, not Alex Murphy. The other lad, Lewis Hall. Let's see.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a funny one because I don't want it to come across that I'm suggesting that Chow needs to be dropped because he's dreadful. You're absolutely right, you boys, when you say that he's been phenomenal this season. He really has, and considering it's his first season in the Premier League, and I think AC Milan fans, I think that's them, almost trying to justify the fact that we've basically robbed them because getting the Malik Chow for the fee that we did was ridiculous. Because I think he's brilliant, and I think when we look back on this season, we'll go, do you know what? He's had a really, really, really good season. I think for me, the reason I suggested putting Botman in is because one, I want Botman in this back four. I'm a huge fan of Sven Botman, and I think as well Brian Brobby. I don't know what it is. He's a big fella, isn't he? And I suppose when I was looking at it, I thought, well, you get minutes in Sven Botman's legs. I fully expect Dan Burn to start. We're not going to go 5 at the back because that is not an option. So I think that's why. And then coupled with, we did see Malik Chow last night, uncharacteristically, because he hasn't performed like that this season. He hasn't been bad like that this season. That was a one-off, and I'm sure it was. And if I see Malik Chow in the starting 11 on Sunday, I'm not going to be disappointed or upset over it. I'm just thinking from what I think Eddie Howe will do based on what he saw last night, and also knowing that he wants, Sven Botman back in there. And I just firmly believe Dan Burn is going to start. That is not in question. It sounds mad to say, Dan Burns probably one of the players that I would most likely hang my hat on and say he will definitely start out of everybody in the team, because I firmly believe he will put Dan Burn in this team. I really, really do.
Yeah, that's why I've kept him there, purely for that reason. So I think it will be Chow and Burn at the back, just from my perspective personally.
Yeah,
I think that'll be it. But I think Botman's a better one-on-one defender, and I think we need that against Bobby. One-on-one defending is what Sven Botman is well known for, and he's brilliant. But let's wait and see. Just whilst we have been on, Craig Hopes just tweeted, it's good news on Sandro Tonali, who has avoided serious injury after a scan earlier today. He hasn't. He's just pointed back to his piece that he wrote today. So it's a case of just waiting and seeing if the swelling goes down enough that he can play. But for me, I think Sandro Tonali plays, because I think Sandro Tonali not playing and then going on international break, I don't think that's a good look for him personally.
It's not.
If you're missing the derby, and then going off to internationals where every time he's gone and played for Italy, he's been put through 90 minutes, 98 minutes, 102 minutes, whatever it is that Italy play. He plays every minute of every game. And he's going to go and do that for Italy in the international break for the 2 games that he plays. That would not look good for him. And it wouldn't look good for him with Newcastle United fans if he's missing the derby to go and do that. And I know there's a few days in between the derby and the Italy games, but for me, this is a game you don't want to miss. This is the game where you have to play. This is the game where you give everything. And you might have a bit of bruising, a bit of swelling. You might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you play in this game. And so for me, I fully expect him to play. Joelinton, Ramsey, that midfield three it goes without saying when Bruno's not about. And yeah, a lot. Did you say that people were mentioning? Oh no, it might have been Tom actually mentioned about the thought of Nick Voltemade playing. Do you reckon that could be something? Can you see Nick Voltemade being a surprise entry into that first 11?
Not in midfield, like where our midfield is set up there. So if it was some kind of a different tactic, fair enough, with him behind Gordon. But I don't see Eddie Howe altering from 4-3-3 here. He has to go for this, and going for it is for Eddie Howe means playing this tactic. So no. I think Nick Voltemade's on the bench, and I get the whole redemption arc kind of thing, but yeah, he can do that from the bench.
Does anyone think that it won't be Gordon starting up front? I know we've put Gordon up there, but obviously there was lots of comments and questions from Newcastle United fans and Barcelona fans actually after the game, saying how quiet Gordon was. We expected a big performance from him. He was, I'm not saying he had a bad game. He just wasn't involved in it. He was just very, very quiet. Does that give grounds for somebody else to come in? Do you see a surprise package, a Will Asula, a Johan Wieser starting ahead of him, or is he just going to go straight for Gordon? It's a bit of a mismatch, that defensive partnership up against Gordon. They're very strong and solid, but lack a little bit of pace. What are we thinking, boys? Any sort of changes?
It's Gordon for me all day.
I'm just trying to get a feel for whether there will be a surprise package in there somewhere along the line. I think this will be the three. I think there's a question mark between Elanga and Murphy. I think it would be a toss of a coin. I get what you're saying, Daz, and it makes sense with regards to obviously it being a Newcastle fan and it being a derby. But when you score 2 goals in the game, like Elanga does, like can you really then not play them? I think it's a bigger decision for Eddie Howe than maybe we think it could be.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep that good kind of train rolling with Elanga? He played well. He scored 2 goals. His confidence will be up after that. Would you give him that opportunity to go again, or do you change it and it maybe drops his confidence levels because he's been dropped for a big game again? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm not sure what it will be, but I'd be happy with that front three.
Yeah. No, I'd be happy with the front three.
Either way.
I just for me think, I don't know. He's been in and out, Anthony Elanga, and I understand why he's been in and out, because he's been inconsistent and he's not quite hit the level that we all expected him to. But when he goes and does what he did last night, I don't know. If I was Anthony Elanga and Eddie Howe's put the team sheet out, I'm going, what have I got to do to get in this team consistently? What do I have to do? That would be what I would be thinking if I was Anthony Elanga. I'd be going, how have you dropped me after scoring 2 at Camp Nou? How have you done that? In what is arguably the biggest game of him joining Newcastle United, one of the first things he will have been told about is playing in a derby against Sunderland at St James's Park, and he's not starting when he's just scored 2 against Barca. I just think it's mad.
And look, granted as well, the advantage of having Jacob Murphy in there is he's swinging the ball, but for a cross. But with Gordon, is not that kind of a striker to get his head in it kind of thing. I would not put Nick Voldemort in that category either, because to me sometimes he doesn't like a header. So yeah, I'm equally happy with Elanga starting, and if he can continue where he left off on the scoring side of things, because a lot of people weren't happy with him before he started scoring last night.
Oh yeah.
Then great,
Yeah,
He did. He had a shaky start, and I know we were up in arms where he was dribbling with the ball and dribbled the ball out of play, like literally about 5 minutes before he scored, and we were up in arms going, what the hell is going on here? And then he pulls out those 2 bits of brilliance to score those 2 goals in the first half, and goals do change opinions and they do change games. That's the reality. But let's see with regards to the lineup. But I'm looking at that midfield, and I'm looking at how strong our midfield can be against theirs. Theirs has got a lot of legs and a lot of battle and a lot of grit, but I think there's more quality in our midfield. I think with Ramsey, who, other than giving the ball to Rafinha for one of the goals yesterday, I thought was very good. I thought he played well. If Tonali's fit, those two certainly connecting, and Joe Linton, who didn't play in the last game, by the way. So this will be a big one for Joe Linton. And let's not forget, Joe Linton caused Ballard to score the own goal in the game in the FA Cup at the Stadium of Light previously. So Joe Linton will be chomping at the bit. I'm looking forward to seeing these two come together. That'll be a nice battle. But Sadiq and Diarra have got a lot of work rate. We've got a lot of energy about them. We're going to have to be on it. But I do think that midfield battle is where we can win it. That is for sure. It all depends on how Sunderland set up. If Sunderland are going to sit deep and just kind of, low block it, it could be a difficult afternoon. It'll be a case of, can we break them down? But if they come out and they try and beat us, I think that's where we could potentially win the game. But any last thoughts from you boys before we take the tactics board off?
Whatever team we put out, we have to win.
Yeah. I look at that front three for Sunderland, and I just think, do you know what? I nearly said when I was looking at it then, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We should have far too much for this Sunderland team. And this is Tom's best case prediction. This is assuming Mukiele starts. This is assuming Ballard starts. This is assuming Reynaldo starts. And if he doesn't, you've got to be looking at that back four and that goalkeeper and thinking, do you know what? We can have some questions here, some big questions. Yeah. And I'm hoping, the more I've been thinking about it, I'm hoping that, the players do react. The players are angry. The players are, annoyed at what happened at the Stadium of Light and annoyed at what happened last night with the capitulation. And hopefully they're going, yeah, let's put these to the sword. Let's do what Tom's predicted. And let's get out the traps early and let's put this game to bed in the first 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Tom did mention something as well. He mentioned that Sunderland don't score a lot of goals. The last time they scored more than one goal in a game was when they beat Burnley at home, February the 2nd. So all of their games that they've played, they've either not scored or scored just one goal. One goal against Oxford, one goal in the defeat against Fulham, one goal in the draw against Bournemouth. Like you go and you continue on. One goal when they beat Leeds. They didn't score against Port Vale and lost. They didn't score at home against Brighton and lost. If Newcastle can get their shooting boots on, and they can put 1 or 2 goals past them early doors and do what Tom said. If we could be 3-0 up after 20 minutes, it's not out of the realms a possibility that we as Newcastle fans can think that they are not getting 3 goals to get back in that game, or even 2. So if Newcastle hit the ground running like we know they can, and they hit it hard and they hit it fast in the early parts of the game and get an early goal and really put it on them, there is a chance that we could absolutely wipe the floor with them. But it all depends on what Newcastle is coming out. That is for sure. If you boys are done with that, we can take the tactics board away.
Let's go.
Got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Craig Hope in his piece today talked about the potential. There was 2 talking points. One, Johan Wieser. One, Nick Voltemade. The question is that will Newcastle United cut their losses on Johan Wieser or Nick Voltemade? Well, he talked about any of their signings this summer that they made, and Nick Voltemade and Johan Wieser were 2 of them. Which one out of the 2 do you think Newcastle will potentially cut their losses? If there was to choose one, which one do you think they will cut their losses on? One.
Yeah, for me, straight away, I would want them to be cutting their losses or to moving on Johan Wieser, because it's been a disaster of a signing. And the only way we're going to get any kind of decent money from him, as well as that your suggestion, Pete, is of a move to Saudi, and maybe that might suit him as well. Either way, if he is in Newcastle player next season, I know someone had it in the chat talking about the number 9 jersey. He shouldn't have the number 9 jersey next season. It should be taken off him. That's for sure. We can't have him wearing number 9, and he's not even. He's like 4th choice striker as things stand. With Nick Voltemade, he's always going to be a valuable asset, and I think he's going to have a good World Cup. His value, I think we can. If he has a good World Cup, we could get the same for him again. But we just have to find a way of getting the best out of him, whether that is a tactical tweak for next season. So be it. But I also want us to bring in another alternative striker for him, because we need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. And Gordon can play both. He can play up front the odd time, but play a left wing as well. But yeah, the one I would want Newcastle to offload in some shape or form is Johan Wieser.
Just to add on to that question, Chris, like Friday just put there, is it more conceivable that we keep both this summer? And if we do you see another striker coming in? Now Gordon's playing up front.
To be fair, Pete, it's a great question. And I'd probably go, I'm going to borrow one of your terms here, Pete. I'd probably go head and heart for this one. So my head says, and this is what I think the club will do. My head says I think they would let Nick Voltemade go. And the reason being is because, and I think somebody else put it in the chat there, under Eddie Howe, in this system, Nick Voltemade doesn't fit. Because we know he's not a central midfielder. We know that, he is really a striker, but kind of not a striker. And he's probably a number 10, but we don't play with a number 10. We've had that discussion many a time. So my head says that we'll keep Johan Wieser. My heart, and what I'd like the club to do, is I would like them to cash in on Johan Wieser and keep Nick Voltemade and find a way to get him in this team, because I think that he is the future. I think he is a player who can do great things at Newcastle. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. In terms of making them both work and keeping hold of both, do I see us signing another striker? I think that will all depend on. William Masula. I think if William Masula leaves in the summer, which we expect him to, I think there would be a conversation. Well, in fact, Pete, yeah, there could be there could be a conversation where we either put Anthony Gordon on the left, or do we sell Anthony Gordon? And that could dispel the Anthony Gordon striker problem, because we could end up selling Anthony Gordon. But yeah, I think we will bring a striker in this summer, because I do think Will Asula will leave. I think he'll move on, and I think we'll bring in a third striker. Do you know what? In an ideal world for me, Yohan Wissa goes to Saudi, but I don't know. Given we've been owned by Saudi owners now since 2021, and I think we've sold one player to Saudi. So am I confident we're going to do that? Probably not. I don't know. I think Newcastle think, and somebody else said this in the chat, and Craig Hope said it apparently earlier. I haven't read the article, but it does make sense based on what Craig's saying, because I have the same opinion. I think Newcastle will want to give Yohan Wissa a full summer. And I think they will maybe try and make this work with Yohan Wissa. Nick Voltemade, it will depend on the offer as well for Nick Voltemade. I think if Newcastle received a bid upwards of 50 million, I think they will probably cut their losses on Nick Voltemade. It will depend on what he does in the World Cup. If he has a fantastic World Cup with Germany and Bayern Munich come in and go, here is 50 million, could I see that deal happening? I probably could. I would like to keep him because I think he's a really good player, and I think he can do great stuff with us. But yeah, do you know what? It's a funny one, the striker position this summer. It's a really, really funny one, because again, even if we keep Big Nick and we keep Wissa, and whether Anthony Gordon stays or goes to the left wing, or we sell him, I still can't see us paying massive amounts for a striker. And I think arguably you could say that we do need one. We need a big striker this summer. Maybe I'm going to throw a name out there. Maybe Nicholas Jackson. I don't know whether, because that deal to Bayern is not going to work. Apparently, he's the Bayern aren't taking up the option to sign him permanently. Do we see us go for Nicholas Jackson or maybe Liam Delap, and Nick Voltemade goes to Bayern? I don't know, but it's going to be intriguing. It's going to be intriguing this summer. But it's a great question, Pete. It's a great question. What about you, Pete? What do you think? Where are you at with it?
Well, look, Wissa's already gone for me. Like, I'm dying on that hill. I don't care what anybody says.
You never arrived for me, please.
Yeah. Like, I feel sorry for you, Dad, because you had that scoreboard chopping down from 15, 13, whatever, 14, 13 all the way down.
It's stuck.
We didn't even get like -10. Like, we didn't get anywhere near it. But look, the reality is that his style fits more to Newcastle United, and more in particular to Eddie Howe than Nick Voltemade. I needed to see Eddie Howe change something that allowed Nick Voltemade to blossom in the striker position. The fact that he moved him into midfield, when we thought he was in the number 10, it was like, okay, we're finding a spot for him. This could work. But when you then saw it unravel and it became a midfield 3, it was like, no, that's not what he needed. That's not helping him. And in fact, it's making it worse. And it's clearly made it worse. I don't see Eddie Howe moving the tactics enough to fit him in. So for me, the fact that he's 24 years old, the fact that he's still got age on his side, the fact that he's likely to have a good World Cup, in Germany are likely to have a good World Cup, that actually falls in our favour. Because if he comes out of that having a good World Cup, and as you said, Nicholas Jackson isn't continued on to Bayern, it just seems like a no-brainer that they will come back for him and actually try and get a decent deal. Now, anything 55 million rising to 60, 62 million, whatever it might be, anything around that ballpark, I think Newcastle take the deal. I think Newcastle take the deal and move him on, because it's very clear that Nick Woltemade is a perfect fit for buying setup. For buying setup, for having an alternative to Harry Kane, he is a perfect for that, and he will blossom in their setup. I think we need to completely rip up the striker situation, and we need to make some significant signings in that market, in that strikers market. We need to make sure that we've got proper killers in front of goal next season. Killers that when you get a half chance or a chance in front of goal, they are putting it away. We would love to have an Isak level striker. We might not get that, but we'll get someone that has the potential to be that.
Yeah.
And that's enough for me, because Alexander Isak was potential and we made him into what he is right now, or what he was. We have the capacity to do that again, but we have to make sure that we're signing a player that fits our system and has the potential to grow. And that's what we need more than anything. For me, Asuda's gone. Asuda's gone. It's a great point with regards to Gordon, Chris, because he might well be sold too. And that, that may well happen, and that's fine. Because I think he sees himself as a striker now. At Newcastle, I think he sees himself as a striker. You look at when he goes back onto the left, like he did in one of the games previous, and you could tell he wasn't motivated. Like he wasn't the same. His mind wasn't in it as much as it was when he's a striker. So that's the way I see it right now.
Pete, can I just jump in there? Because you raise a really good point when you say that. You know, the way we've been saying for the last 12, 18, 24 months that Anthony Gordon sees himself as that left winger. He doesn't want to play on the right because, in our opinion, it's because he wants that left wing England spot. Is this evolution of Anthony Gordon? Is him being adamant that he wants to play as striker now for Newcastle? Because he has said previously, people have said it in the chat, that he wants to play as striker. Do you think he spotted a potential gap in the market in terms of England? Because we know now, don't we? Harry Kane's the main guy. Everybody knows that. But, the likes of Ollie Watkins, the likes of Liam Delap, they're not showering themselves in glory. So is Anthony Gordon looking at that and going, well, actually, this could be my ticket into the England squad, because if I'm playing as the main striker for Newcastle, I'm definitely getting taken, because I am surely the second best option to Harry Kane. Is that just another way of ensuring his place on the plane, do you think?
It's absolutely that situation, because if you look at it, the England strikers pool is the worst it's been for 20 years.
Yeah,
there are no strikers out there. I mean, we were hanging our hat on Liam Delap being the next guy, and look what's happened to him. He was the third person in line. Ivan Toney had like a little kind of, fleeting appearances with England, and then went to Saudi, and that disappeared.
We've
not had a sustained striker that's capable of playing on that level. Like we just haven't. Like, Final Boss has put Ivan Toney. He was only in it for a short period. He went to one tournament, he scored one goal, and then he hasn't been in since. He's cooking, but he's cooking in Saudi. Us three could get 10 goals in Saudi, and I'm not lying. Like we
could get maybe 5.
We need to pick this up now. We could get 30 goals in the season.
Sorry, 55.
Tell you, watching people, we could get 30 goals in a season. There is no doubt about it. Get your money in, get those bets in as quickly as you can. But look, the reality is the pool of strikers is non-existent. Watkins has scored a few goals this season and had a few decent performances, but he's been massively inconsistent, and he's second choice. So Anthony Gordon is playing the percentages, as I like to say. He's playing the percentages. Where can I fit in that's going to get me guaranteed on that plane to America and Canada and Mexico? And that's the way. He's showing that he can play left wing and score goals. He's showing that he can play up front. He's showing that he's got that versatility that Thomas Tuchel's going to go, okay, we can play him here, we can play him there. If Kane comes down with an injury or needs a rest later on in the game, we can throw him on, and we know he can do a job up there. We know he's got that pace in and behind in certain games where better teams, may well come at us, and he's got the pace to exploit them in and behind when they're tired later on in games. He's got that because he's going to go to the World Cup, but he's showing that he's got that versatility to play in multiple positions. The right-hand side has got bags of talent over there. Now, Saka's not had a great season, by the way, but he will play and he'll start. But then they've got Palmer that can play over there as an alternative. So there's two players where he's not going to get a sniff up against in reality. So that's kind of where it is. So absolutely, the striker's berth is where it is. But ultimately, above anything else, Anthony Gordon wants to be the main man. He does. It's very clear. He wants to be the guy. And what better way of being the guy is being your striker, and being your striker that scores the goals that wins the games. Whether it's in play, whether it's penalties, doesn't matter. If he's putting the ball in the net, he's the guy, and everybody's talking about him. And that's what he wants, because he's driven that way. He wants to be the main man. It was very clear that when he's at Went, he said in his interviews he wanted to step up. He was ready to step up and be that next guy. We just didn't realize that he wanted to be the guy, the number 9, the striker. I think this evolution has been since he's left, that this is what he's wanted to be. And he's now evolved into it.
And that's that Eddie Howe said that in an interview before, maybe it was after a game. You know how they do the pitch side interviews. He said that Anthony Gordon sees himself as a striker. That's when Gordon was starting to play up front early in the season. So yeah, and then as you also pointed out, Pete, Anthony Gordon has been building towards that with his brand that he's trying to put together. So like every striker has their little brand going. So he's building he's building for his next move really as well, and he's got the shot now at being a player up front for Newcastle. Whether he'd have that shot somewhere else, I'm not so sure.
I think Anthony Gordon is going to be the high-profile potential sale this summer. I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Gordon's had a conversation with Eddie Howe and the club and gone, I want to leave. And I wouldn't be surprised if a Liverpool or an Arsenal, for example, are waiting in the wings to snap him up. It'll just be a case of how much they pay for it.
And as a left winger, though. One is left winger, because they've got 2 strikers already.
Well, this is the advantage, boys. This is the advantage because, and I was going to ask you this. So rewind 3 or 4 months ago, and we were having this discussion on here. We were having this discussion, and we were going, do we cut our losses with Anthony Gordon? You know, how much will we get? Maybe 60, maybe. But now he's thrown himself into this striker conversation, and he's shown that he can play as a striker. You know, he's put himself on the map in terms of his Champions League goals, and, you know, teams are standing up and paying a bit of attention to him. If he goes to the World Cup and, you know, starts bagging a few goals, you know, during the World Cup, is he then elevated himself to the point where a Liverpool, an Arsenal, somebody like that, maybe even Chelsea come back in for him? Has he elevated himself to a point where Newcastle are going, well, it's minimum 80, 90 million, minimum, because he's our striker. He's the main guy in our team. A bit like an Isak. He's the one who scores the goals. So he's almost lifted his price up. So not only is he increasing his own profile, as you said, Pete, but he's also helped Newcastle United, you know, indirectly, because we're then going, yeah, but he's the main guy. He's the striker. So he's not the left winger. He's the striker. And is that maybe a little bit part of this, do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will help Newcastle no end, because it will go from a £65 million conversation to an £85 million conversation. Let's not forget, Anthony Gordon scored 16 goals this season. You can argue whether they've been in the Premier League or the Champions League. It doesn't really matter. On the stats, it said he scored 16 goals and there's a number of assists there. So I think he must be around. Yeah, he's what is that, 14 14 goals, GA.
14 goals, 4 assists.
I thought it was 16 goals he scored this season. I'm sure he scored 16. I could be wrong on that.
But he scored 10. He scored 10 in the Champions League, hasn't he?
Yeah. So I'm sure he scored 16 in all competitions. Someone check that out and correct me if I'm wrong. So if he scored 16 goals and he's got 4 assists, he's already on 20 GA this season, for example. Now, it's not out the realms of possibility that there's another 4 goals in Anthony Gordon between now and the end of the season. So he could be sitting on the end of this season 20 goals in all competitions. Now, that alone, so he's got 16. So with the 4 assists, he's got 20 GA already. I think in his best season at Newcastle United, in that first full season, I think he got 21 GA or something like that, 21 GA, something along those lines. So he's already at that point with 8 games to go. It's not out the realms of possibility he can score another 4 goals and hit that 20 mark in goals scored. That in itself, Chris, can get you arguing as Newcastle United and as Eddie Howe going 80 million. Look at what he's just done last season. And not just what he's done last season, look at what he's done in the Champions League. Got us to the knockout phases of the Champions League. Scored that many goals. Up there with Mbappe, up there with Harry Kane, was one of the top goal scorers. That's the bargaining chip. Doesn't matter what he does at the World Cup. If he does well at the World Cup, that probably adds another 5 million, another 10 million onto his price tag.
Yeah.
What you don't want in that situation, if he does want to move, is almost price him out. You don't want it to be too high because then, well, I say too high, to the point where Liverpool and Arsenal don't want to pay that sort of price. Yeah. And he then wants to move. And then you've got an unhappy player going into a brand new season because we can't afford
have that again.
We're not going through that again ever.
Exactly. It has to stop. It has to stop. And it's not just him. That kind of segues to the likes of Sandro Tonali. Like, I keep hearing all this noise, and I do think a lot of it is agent driven. I think 90% of it is agent driven. But ultimately, regardless of all this noise and whatever noise we get during the summer when we're doing the Fully Loaded transfer shows, ultimately, as fans, what we need are a group of 25 players ready for the 26-27 season that are fully committed and fully focused on Newcastle United and Newcastle United only. Because I'm sick of these rumours and this, if we don't get Europe, I want out and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Well, someone said to me, the other day, if he's not happy and he wants to move, then we've got to sell him. Who says we've got to sell anyone that's unhappy? We don't have to sell them, and they shouldn't be so weak mentally that they drop off performances because they want a move. You only got to look at the likes of Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers wanted out in the summer, and look what he's done for Villa this season. He signed a new contract, and bang, he's up and he's doing his thing. There are other players that wanted to move and didn't get their moves, but it doesn't affect them when it comes to the season because they get their head down and they get on with football. And this is what I want going into next season. I want all the noise gone. If some of these players are not happy and they're banging the drum and they want to leave, then Newcastle United may well need to sell. Obviously, we're not going to sell all of these players, but we need to sell some of them. If it's a Gordon, fine. If it's a Sandro Tonali, fine. 1 or 2 major sales is fine. No more than that. The rest of them need to sign new contracts. So if Sandro does go and Gordon goes, fine. We buy players that replace. We give Bruno a new contract. We give Hall a new contract. And we give Tino a new contract. And that ends the discussion there. And it ends the links there. And it's done with. And we invest in those players. We keep them long term. And it's done. For me, that's how it needs to be done.
Yeah.
If I'm not
stability.
I'm doing. Yeah. And it is. It's ending all the speculation because what you'll get is new contracts. Like if Sven Botman hadn't signed a new contract, we'd be getting all of this. He'd have been added to this list to Man United and Man City and Liverpool and all the rest of it. He'd have been added to this conversation. But what it did, sign a new contract, ended it. No discussion because if he's just signed a new deal, it ain't happening. This is what needs to happen with Hall to end that conversation. This is what needs to happen with Tonali if he's staying. This is what needs to happen with Tino if he's staying. Gordon doesn't need to sign a new contract because he signed one last season. So that's why I think he's probably the more likely to be sold of them all. because he ain't going to give him a new contract to keep him happy. We're not going to pay him any more money than what he's on. It's a case of if you're happy with what you're on, keep playing your football. If you're going to keep moaning and want to move, we'll move you on. We'll cash in, and then we'll sign someone else in his spot.
He's the one with the maximum price. Anthony Gordon is the one with the maximum price because of the performances this season. Well, I'll say the performances this season, the goals and assists this season, and being top scorer for Newcastle United. The fact that he's off the back of a new contract, the fact that he's English, and the fact that he could light it up at the World Cup, and he's now showing he can play striker and winger. I think that the price for Gordon would be huge.
It's closer to entry as well.
Absolutely. Boys, I've just seen the private chat, so I know we need to wrap up now. So apologies for that.
Good discussion.
Kept rambling on, but it was good discussion for sure. And it won't be the last time I think we have this conversation on one or two of our players moving forward. But predictions, lads, for the game, the big game, the derby game at the weekend. I'm going to just throw it out there first. Newcastle United are going to win because we have to win. It's as simple as that. I'm going to go Newcastle United to win 3-1. I'm going to deviate from my 2-1 prediction. 3-1 to Newcastle United. It's going to be a convincing win, and we are going to do it. On the same page. Forget the Eddie bit at the end, but yeah, we were nearly aligned there, Sophie. We must. The club must. The players must. Daz?
I came to win. So yes, I'm also going to go 3-1, like Sophie B, and like 3-1 was in my head from more talking to Tom. Yeah,
absolutely. Chris, final prediction: is it a full house, a full winning house?
It is a full winning house. I'm going to stick with you boys in the fact that we'll score 3 goals, but I think I'm going to take Tom's judgment on this one as well. I think it will be 3-0. I don't think they'll score 3-0.
Back-to-back clean sheets. That would be wonderful in the Premier League, and 3 wins in a row potentially in the Premier League. So let's hope that that's the case. That's a wrap, guys. That is a wrap. Big game ready on Sunday. Still can't believe you're not coming with us.
I know. I want to go now. I really want to go now.
Anyone that's watching, myself and Chris are going to be there for the game on Sunday at St. James's Park. So we'll be around Newcastle over the weekend. So if you see us, come and say hello. We'll be probably in many a bar drinking lots and lots. But Daz, I wish you were there, Daz. Wish you were there with me.
This weekend, I can't make it.
I knew you would regret it. I knew you would regret it.
Of course I was, especially if we win. I'll definitely be regretting it then. But when we win. But yeah, no, as Genius says, enjoy it, boys. Enjoy it. And we'll be back with the reaction show. It won't be on the Sunday. It'll be probably on the Monday. We will gather our thoughts and bits and pieces for that. So enjoy it, everyone at home as well. Let's hope that the payback is dealt on Sunday. So bring that on.
Need it.
Absolutely.
That is a wrap for us. We did so much talk about transfers there, boys. We just have to give people a taster of what's coming in the summer. What's that? Yeah. Pay attention to the heights. Everyone's in the 6'1" club. Good night, everyone.
She said, hola, ¿cómo está? She said, konnichiwa. She said, pardon my French. I said, bonjour, madame. And then she says, I say, and I say, no, lay. No matter where I go, you know I love them all. She said, hola, ¿cómo está? Said, konnichiwa. She said, pardon my French. I said, bonjour, madame. And she says, I say, and I say, no, lay. No matter where I go, you know I love them all. I'm feeling kinda young, I'm feeling reckless. Let me hold you, let me grab you by the necklace. Oh, I'll show you what the good loving and sex is. It turns you on when I got you feeling helpless. And I'ma eat you up for dinner, lunch and breakfast. Bring your friends along, cause they are on the guest list. We can fool around I'm breathless. Hold off the drinks, I'm about to feeling selfless. She's telling me this, she's telling me that. You said you take me with you and you never go back. Now I got a lesson that I wanna teach. I'ma show you that where you from, it don't matter to me. She said, hola, 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 ¿cómo está? She